I was looking for a video that would help me figure out why I was getting weak airflow coming through my vent system and the defrost and the heater. Most of the videos out there focus on the blower motor resistor, which this car did have that problem, and I fixed that, but I still had really weak airflow, especially through these outside vents. This is a 2007 Explorer. But I couldn't find any more information than that. I did have a problem in an earlier vehicle where I had ductwork that was loose, and I was getting leakage there. So I checked all that. I took all the instrument panel apart, and I forgot to do the video at the time. But I took everything apart where I could find any connections to the ductwork, and everything was pretty well sealed. I resealed it anyway using some insulating foam, and I don't know where I put that. But so just to make sure I didn't have any leaks, I took care of that. But I still had the weak airflow problem. And then I remembered something that happened on an old vehicle I had, and that was my air conditioning evaporator was plugged up. And I was able to get a look at that using a camera here without having to obviously take the whole dash apart. You want to be able to check that. So the way to do that, and I had success with this, so I'm sharing it. On this car, it's a matter of unplugging the blower motor, which is right here. There's an air conditioning, or rather a vacuum canister here. It's like a vacuum reservoir that has to be, there's only one screw there. That screw comes out, and I just let that hang down. There's a wire retainer here that has to come off, and 3 more screws. But once you do that, you can drop this blower motor right down. And by the way, the blower motor resistor is right up behind there if you need to do that. It's usually the farthest thing forward under there. But in this case, once I took that blower motor up out of the way, then I was able to get this camera in there. And this is a depth stitch or depth tech camera. And I was able to insert this up into this opening and into this duct right here that goes into the air conditioning evaporator, which is up behind here. On most of these cars, when you're in regular mode, the air comes in from the bottom of the windshield here, it flows in. The blower motor pulls it straight down and into this duct right here, and then straight in. Unless you've got it in max AC or recirc mode, then it pulls the air from just above this area. Right up behind here is where the opening is on this car. But I was able to get this camera in there, and this is considered to be a wireless camera, even though it's got a wire to it. It broadcasts to an iPad or anything with a Wi-Fi connection. This is like a Wi-Fi hotspot. And I was looking at this on my iPad as I was inserting this up into that duct through this opening above here and into this duct, and I pointed it forward, rearward rather, and I was able to get a look at the air conditioning evaporator. And I'll show you those pictures. You can see there's a lot of crap on there. It looks like it's mostly the seeds from the cottonwood trees that get stuck in there. So that told me right away that was my problem with getting that thing cleared out. And what I did first was I have a small vacuum cleaner, and I connected that to a brush, and I tried to get up in there and clean the front of the air conditioning evaporator. And then I kept looking at images with the camera again, and it wasn't looking like it was helping much. So what I ended up doing, and I had this tool this is a tool that you use to clean a dryer duct, and it doesn't come with this spring here, but I needed something to hold on to, and you connect the other end to the drill. Now this has like several pieces to it that you can get down into the ductwork. I bought a couple of kits so I could reach pretty far down into the duct, and all these lines all connect each other. I just needed one of them for this job, and they're flexible, so I was able to take this and insert it up in there, and then just hit the drill and brush off, spin this around and clean the inside of that evaporator, the forward side of it. After I did that, I took apart this front piece, which just snaps on. I had to take the radio out, and there's another duct piece on top here. Lift, 3 screws and get that out. Then I was able to get to the front side of the air conditioning evaporator, or rather the rear side, and I took this air tool with 120 psi air in there, and I just put it right up against there as close as I could get, and I just blasted air against the front of it to clean out all the holes. And I was able to get most of the dirt out of the air conditioning evaporator, and I got my airflow back. It's equivalent to about 2 notches. Like before, it would have been, it was just trickling out of these, especially these side vents. It was just barely trickling out. But once I cleaned that all out, oh, and by the way, I took this air tool also, and took this guy out of there. put this air tool up in there and hit the trigger, and there was a whole pile of garbage that landed on my mat. I did this a couple times. I did the best I could. You can see from the pictures there's still some dirt that's in the upper right and lower right corners of the evaporator that I didn't get to, but my airflow is acceptable now. I got a lot fewer complaints when it's a hot day about the air conditioning not working. So I thought I'd share this because I couldn't find any other videos that shared this same exact problem. So if you have weak airflow and it's not your duct work and it's not the blower resistor, look into using a camera like this one, and an expensive camera like this one, to look at the forward side of your air conditioning evaporator to see if that's where the problem is. All the air passes through, by the way, all the air passes through the air conditioning evaporator regardless of if you have the air conditioning on or not. So even in vent mode or heat or defrost, it's all going through that evaporator. It just doesn't cool it down if the air conditioning's not on, but it all blows through there. Now if you have a cabin air filter, which would be up behind here, that might I would presume that would catch all this stuff. But if you don't have a cabin air filter, which most cars I think don't, then your air conditioning evaporator is gonna act like your like an air filter, and it's gonna get plugged up. So if you have that issue, take a look with a camera and see if that's it. You don't have to actually take the dash apart to get to it. If you just take your time, you can get in there with these tools. I also tried using, this is a dryer vent tool, and I bent the tip of this and tried to get those corners the best I could with this tool. It worked a little bit, but the best tool was this dryer duct tool to get in there. So if you have that problem, give this a try. Thanks.